Welcome to the Athena Wellness Podcast, the show that invites you to take a seat around the community fire and listen to stories that inspire. I'm your host, Kathy Robinson, author, coach, and founder of Athena Wellness, a company that's dedicated to supporting you on your journey to live more wholeheartedly. Today's episode is brought to you by the Athena Wellness Academy, your resource for wholehearted living. The Academy's featured offering is an online course called From Type A to Type B, How to Mindfully Descend the Corporate Ladder and Invite What's Next. This course is perfect for you if you're contemplating or navigating a professional transition, and it's available as a self-study or with a small cohort of students facilitated by me, Kathy Robinson. To learn more, I invite you to go to athenawellnessacademy.teachable.com or click on the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for joining me for this shortened Wellness Wednesday episode, a little midweek boost to help keep your warrior vibe high. Today I'm joined once again by Judith Keys, the founder of My Food in France. During this discussion, Judith shares the process of making a heart-aligned decision. If you've been thinking of making a life-changing transition, this episode is for you. And now on to the show. I hope you find this conversation insightful. Once again, I'm joined by the owner of My Food in France, Judith Keys. Welcome back, Judith.
Thanks for having me.
So what I'd love to talk about in this segment is to address the listener who has a big dream, like moving to France or starting their own business. So for someone who has been thinking about that, but kind of keeping it under wraps, what advice would you have for them to help them start to take steps to realize that dream?
I think my best piece of advice would be exactly what you have just said. Take steps to realizing the dream. So what is the first thing? What is the one thing that you need to do to begin? I think when we imagine starting a new business or moving country, it can feel so overwhelming. It can feel like you need to do all the things and plan everything. And in actual fact, there are very few things that I actually did whenever I moved to France. I booked a train ticket basically to get from the UK over to France. And that was one of the first things. We just did it. We just left. I got the house sold and we went. So it was very quick. And I'm not saying that's the best way of doing things, but I think it's all about looking at what the first step is. And once you've done that, I think you get such a sense of achievement. So have a look at what those steps may be and work your way through them bit by bit and take each one at a time. And I think by doing that, it just feels less overwhelming. It's a bit like the ream of paper thing, instead of trying to deal with it all at once, just take one sheet off at a time and master each little bit, and then you'll get it all done before you know it.
I think that's really great practical advice. And I'm trying to envision you. You had said that you had 6 months that you were able to spend some time in France. You came back, you went back to your job in Scotland for a period of time. So you did have a little bit of leeway there, but tell me about, because moving, as you said, moving to another country, selling your house, quitting your job, these are big things. How did you not get overwhelmed while you were still putting up this front? You still had to go to work and perform. So talk a little bit about that transient space where you kind of did have a foot in two different places.
You do, and I think it's about concentrating on the end goal. So for me, I was so excited at the time because I knew what was going to happen. I knew I was going to be in this new place. I could see it in my mind's eye. I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it made every day feel quite fun, actually, because I had a goal to focus on. So although I took little steps to get there, I had a bigger goal or vision in mind. So I know a lot of coaches talk about vision, and I do think it's extremely important. So I have a vision for where I want my Food in France, my new business, to go. And I'm going to take so it may feel a little bit like I'm doing things quickly, or I don't have a plan in place. That is not the case. There has to be a plan and an end goal in sight. But I think it's about not worrying about how you're going to get there in one go. It's taking the small steps you need. So work backwards, maybe. Think of where it is you want to get to, and then work backwards from that. And yeah, just take your time.
I love that. So it's this sense of having a big vision, but taking small steps. There's a reverse engineering process.
Exactly.
And maybe that's the case. I mean, tell me your thoughts on this. Without having that vision, the steps can feel fruitless, or it's easy to put them off. But you came back from France knowing you had a different life in mind, and then you just had to find a way or a path to be able to get there. Is that fair?
Yes, and I think both times that I've made these big decisions in my life, it has been a heart-based decision, and I think you know the difference. So if I was going to make a big change and I wasn't really sure, or I felt I'm not in my stomach, or there's something wasn't right, I don't think it's easy to make steps to make a change towards something that doesn't feel right. But when you're excited about a prospect or a plan or a goal, yeah, it feels fun. Like those transitory moments feel exciting because, you've got this fun thing to look forward to. And even if you don't have a big dream, or because I know when I talk about what I've done, I do realize that for some people, it probably feels crazy just to move country. For me, it did not feel like that. It felt quite an easy transition. But I think sometimes it doesn't have to be about a big dream or a huge change. It can just be something that feels really important to you. It might feel like you couldn't do it, but I bet you probably could if you just, like you say, do the reverse engineering trick, see what little steps you need to take, and go for it.
I love it. Those two words really resonate, heart aligned. That's really the key.
So important, so important. And I think we're only here for a short amount of time. Everything is just, I want to show my children as well that I can make these big decisions and I can do what's fun. I'm doing this new job, Kathy, and it does not feel like work. It feels like fun. Like I am creating this content and I'm cooking with these amazing people and getting to share my story and talk about France. And, I'm so happy.
And I bet somewhere your grandmother is smiling.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Wonderful. Very inspiring. Judith, I can't thank you enough. I will link up everything in the show notes, and I thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I know there are many ways you can spend your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me. Until our paths cross again, be kind to yourself and show your warrior spirit some love. If you know anyone who could benefit from today's episode, please pass it on. And many thanks for supporting the show by subscribing and leaving a review. It means a lot, and it helps others find their way to our circle. If you'd like to access the show notes, have a question you'd like addressed on a future episode, or would like a transcript of this episode, visit www.athenawellness.com/podcast. Until next time, be well.